I'm going to start recording too. And wait, I have to open up the presentation. Like I was saying, guys, today's class is just for fun. You can ask as many questions as you want. It's a very interesting topic, and I'm a biologist for those of you who did not know. And a biologist is a person that studies science that is related to life. Okay, so that's what we're going to be studying today, life. Okay, I think that's ready. Okay, please write through the chat if you're able to see the presentation. Just write yes or check or give me a thumbs up so I know that you're able to see it. If not, I will get out and come back again. Okay, checking the chat. Okay, we have a lot of yeses. That means that we can begin. If there are words that you do not understand, don't worry about it. You can write through the chat, teacher, what is this? Teacher, what is that? I will be trying to explain absolutely everything here. Okay, the dawn of creation. When I say dawn, that means the beginning of the day. And when I talk about the dawn of creation, I'm talking about the origin of life, how everything came to be. For example, right now we know that humans and animals are born from reproduction. But before that, before even humans existed, before even dinosaurs existed, something had to happen, right? Do any of you know how life was created? You can give me an idea. Even if it's someone decided to touch the earth and boom, everything exploded and happened. Do any of you know what happened? You can raise your hand, you can talk. I want this class to be a lot of participation on your part, okay? Okay, Andres Mueller.
It's called, if I'm correct, it's called the Big Bang.
Okay, what happened in the Big Bang?
Well, everything was created, planets, stars, and
so on. Thank you, Andres. Yes, one of the theories is the Big Bang, but the Big Bang actually did not explain how life was created, just how planets were. And that's something that we're actually going to review in our third term in space. We're going to see the Big Bang theory, not the TV series, the actual theory, okay? And for those of you who do not know what a theory is an idea or a thought that gives explanation to an event, fact, or occurrence, okay? So for example, if I come into the classroom and I bring cookies for everyone, everyone is going to eat cookies, but we have to leave for recess and come back. When we come back, the cookies are not there, somebody ate them, and Alejandra has cookie crumbs in her shirt. What is the theory that we're going to build? Who ate the cookies? Wanchi?
Teacher, the theory is that someone ate them and then they poured the cookie in there, so they think it's there.
Okay, if, for example, if we find cookie crumbs, little pieces of cookies in Alejandra's shirt, who do you think ate the cookies?
I don't know, someone could have just ate them and then put the cookie crumbs in her shirt.
Okay, that's one theory. My theory
is a theory.
That's a theory, and that's okay. Victoria, Alejandra, do you want to say something? You have your hands raised. First, Alejandra, because she rose it first. Alejandra, sweetie, do you have a question? Sorry, sweetie, I cannot hear you. Do you have a microphone?
Hear me.
Now I can hear you, yes?
Teacher, my question is, there will be more from the science class because here it is already normal class.
Sorry, sweetie, I did not understand what you were trying to say. Since I cannot hear you properly, please write it through the chat, okay?
Okay.
Thank you, sweetie. Victoria? Victoria Mata, sweetie, you have your hand up above. So,
Teacher.
mhm.
The other theory is that Alejandra ate the cookies.
Exactly. For example, Juanchi says that somebody incriminated poor Alejandra, that she did not eat them, that she was just blamed for it, and your theory is that Alejandra ate the cookies. Both theories may be correct, but we are going to find out through experimentation, and that's what we're going to learn today. The many theories about how life came to be. Okay, thank you guys for participating. Okay, where do we come from? For centuries, humans have asked themselves this very question, and so they have come up with several theories of their own. In this class, we will review some of them, okay? Not all of them because there are thousands, but we'll review some. Yes, Ariana Carrillo?
Teacher, hi.
Hi, sweetie.
Can you repeat all you say, please? My internet connection is bad.
Okay, I'm going to give a short summary. What I said is that we're going to review today the theories or ideas about how life was created. And I'm talking even before the dinosaurs, okay? So we're going to learn how the dinosaurs happened.
Thank you.
Okay, for example, we have the first theories. The first theories were of religious beliefs, okay? In most religions, it is believed that God, and in some cases, for example, in Greek culture, there were several gods, created the universe and everything in it. There are several stories about how planets, plants, animals, and humans were created, and all of them are valid. It doesn't matter what religion do you belong to. There are several theories about what happened, and all of them are valid, all of them are okay. But today we're going to study the scientific approach of how it happened, okay? We're going to be basing ourselves in science and not in religion, even though religion is a-okay with all of their ideas. Okay, the first one, spontaneous creation, how life came out of nowhere. And I mean absolutely out of nowhere. And no, it's not the Big Bang Theory. Okay, what would happen if we had a picnic and left the food sit out for a while? Imagine all of us went to a picnic, we all brought pizza, hot dogs, cheese, whatever you would like in a picnic, and we went to play. When we came back, what would happen to the food? Not all of you at the same time, guys, come on. I know you're very excited for today's class, but give me a reason. Yes, Victoria?
Maybe the food will be not there, or
Okay, you think somebody stole it. Mohammed?
eat it.
It came an animal and ate it.
An animal came and ate it. What about you, Andres? What do you think happened to our food?
It can be there, but the moscas.
But
How do I
flies
say
came
moscas?
by. Andrea has the same idea, and Victoria Reina too. And that's perfect. That's what I want you guys to answer. Our food would probably be full of ants, flies, or other insects that crawl into our food. And honestly, this doesn't look very tasty. I wouldn't eat half a donut with a lot of ants on top of it by the life of me. But back then, people thought that for you to create ants and flies, you had to bring putrid food. Okay, so people actually thought that life came out of nowhere. Long, long ago, when humans lived in caves and their thoughts were not very complex, they did not question the origin of things. If something appeared out of nowhere, they would be like, oh yes, that's a dinosaur. Hello, Mr. Dinosaur, that's it. They thought that animals and plants appeared by magic. Birds were born in the sky, mammals grew from the ground, and fishes were born from the water. I'm not talking about father fish and mommy fish getting little fishes. No, I'm talking about random things appearing out of nowhere, like alakazam. Until Middle Ages, humans believed that small forms of life, like ants, mice, and flies, could come from inanimate objects, objects that were not alive. For example, some people believe that mice were born from a box with dirty clothes and bread, okay? So if you ever wanted to have a pet rat or maybe a fly or whatever, for you to create it out of nothing, you just had to put things in a box and wait for a week and boom, now you have rats in your house because that's how people believed it would happen. So let's pretend we are them. People believed this until the Middle Ages. That means that the Greeks, Aristotle, and other great thinkers, they also thought that life came out of nowhere. For example, if I wanted to make, I don't know, a rhinoceros, I would just grow it from the ground. So what actually happened is that we would take a box and fill it with bread, okay? After we put the bread in the box, we close it and wait for a month. And after we open the box would be full of mice. But what actually happened is not that mice were born from bread that had gone stale. What happened is that a mouse would come by, find the box because it smelled the bread inside, and another mouse would do exactly the same. And because they have very sharp teeth, what they would do was make a hole inside the box, get inside the box, and when you open the box again in a month, you would have these. So people honestly thought for a long time that animals came out of nowhere, and if you wanted to have some, you just had to make food go bad. And now we know that living beings do not come from back then. But this theory was only supported by many other crazy thinkers like Anthony van Leeuwenhoek. Okay? Anthony van Leeuwenhoek in the year 1670s created the first microscope. A microscope is a huge lens that makes you see even smaller things than ants or other insects. It makes you see microbes or microorganisms. When this happened, imagine his surprise when he was trying to see only small things when something moved. Imagine you have something in your hand that you did not expect it to move and it suddenly crawled out of nowhere. That scared the heebie-jeebies out of him. Andres Mueller, sweetie, do you have a question? Andres? Okay.
Yes, sorry, teacher. I was asking. I had a question that it was, what if God created the Big Bang?
That's okay. There are a lot of beliefs about religion, and one of those beliefs is that after we discovered the Big Bang and everything else, that God was the one responsible for that. But it's a religious belief, okay? People have different religious beliefs. If you are Christian, Catholic, Muslim, or Buddhist, we have different theories about how life came to be. So we're not going to discuss religion in this class. We're going to discuss the scientific achievements that led to the discovery of how life was formed, okay? We're going to base ourselves in what we know from science. It's okay if you want to believe that God created everything. It's completely valid, but we're going to focus on science. And Daniel, Andres Davila, sweetie? Andres?
My hand is raised.
Yes, sweetie.
Oh, teacher, I forgot to lower my hand when sorry.
It's okay. Jose Manuel? Jose Manuel? Sweet, I cannot hear you. Talk a little bit louder, please.
Now can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you better.
Yes.
Okay, teacher, a day I was in YouTube and I see an announcement that says that the life begin with a little organism of one cell, a one cell organism, and it was becoming bigger, and it was the first mammal, and then from that animal it was evolution and and then from a little mammal it became evolutionary. I don't know how to say that in English, and was the other organism created by a little mammal that evolution.
Okay. I get what you're trying to say. For those of you who were not able to hear, what he said is the theory of evolution. And that's something that we're going to study in the following weeks in this term. And I actually found a very nice game about evolution that you can play online, but we'll play it when our class of evolution comes by, okay? We're going to talk about that later, but let's pretend something, okay? Remember that humanity has been here for a very long time, and there are a lot of things that we think are correct, and suddenly a scientific discovery is made that completely disregards what we have been studying, right? For example, every time you guys have a new game, or you're, for example, playing the PlayStation, we know that the PlayStation 5, I think it's the 5 one, the new one, PlayStation 5 now exists. But 25 years ago, we did not even know what a PlayStation was, okay? So every day we're learning something new. The same thing happens with scientists. For example, if you go back to the Middle Ages, in which William Shakespeare was alive, or maybe Leonardo da Vinci, and you told them, hey, you know, huge monsters called dinosaurs existed before you did, their minds would be blown because they did not know that. In fact, Anthony van Leeuwenhoek discovered that microorganisms existed in the 1600s, and we stood up in the moon in the 1950s. That's less than 100 years ago. So because of this, every day we're getting more information and we're trying to fit the pieces of the puzzle. So evolution happened, but for the time that we're speaking here in the 1670s, they did not even know what evolution was, or why did it happen, or how we came to be. They actually only thought that life came out of nowhere. This is a theory, and only a theory. Okay, Miss Claudia Oriana is saying that she's turning off her video because her internet connection is very bad and it keeps throwing her off.
Okay, thanks for informing.
For example, Enrique Stevens is telling me that the NASA is saying that they will arrive to Mars in 2030. Okay, that's something that has not happened yet. So we have our theories of what Mars will be like. And maybe when they get there, when they actually land on Mars, it will be completely different to what we believe right now. So Anthony van Leeuwenhoek takes a piece of wood, cuts it in very, very, very little pieces, and puts it under his new invention, which is the microscope. And this is what he sees. Well, something like this. Imagine looking for wood and suddenly getting little things that are moving and crawling around. That just make him think like, oh my God, you guys were right. Life comes out of nowhere and everything grows out like daisies. So what happened back then? A lot of people only believed that this was more proof that life came from inanimate objects. Then the person who told them, guys, you guys are crazy, please listen to me, was Louis Pasteur. This was a French biologist, and he disproved, he said it was false, the theory by making his own experiment. This experiment proved that life can only come from other forms of life, okay? Here is the experiment. And before we start, I'm going to explain this process, so please focus in the drawing and not in the text. Okay, he had 3 small vials, okay? And inside of it, he put soup, okay? The same soup that we eat nowadays. If you go to the kitchen, grab a Maggi envelope and just put it in water, you will have soup. He did the same, but he put it in a flask. And he made sure that the top would have to be twisted and closed so nothing could come in, okay? So first, he heated the entire soup with everything closed and nothing came out. It was just the same soup. It's the same thing as we close it down and put it in the fridge. But then he decided to open the flask, my bad. He decided to do the same process but opening up the flask. And what happened is that bacteria started appearing. When he tried to twist it and open up the flask, he also saw that bacteria was present. When bacteria was present, it was only when it came into contact with the air of the outside, which is full of microbes, of germs, of viruses, or whatever. So if we open it up, everything that is outside will grow inside. If nothing is in contact with it, nothing will grow. That's not what the people with the mice thought. They didn't think that the mice would get inside of a box by biting it. So with this, he proved that nothing can come out of non-living beings, okay? They had to be in contact with something else. And by the way, if you did not know, this experiment, he invented pasteurization. Using this process, pathogens, which are terrible beings that make us sick, and germs are eliminated from food so it can last longer. Much of the milk that we drink is pasteurized, okay? This is the man who invented pasteurization. Now that we know that things don't just pop out of anywhere, we are going to study chemical evolution, okay? I know it sounds a bit scary, it sounds a bit complicated, but let me explain. A chemical reaction comes from elements. Okay, we have 10 minutes. I think that I can explain this in 10 minutes. Okay, what we have here is the periodic table, and what you see with letters are elements. Everything in this universe is made out of atoms, okay? When a group of atoms come together, they create substances called elements, and these elements are the most basic form of matter. When these substances mix together, they create a chemical reaction, okay? If you don't understand it, I will show you one chemical reaction that you see every day because you need it to survive. Okay, 2 of the elements that are in that periodic table are hydrogen and oxygen. What do you think would happen if we mix 2 hydrogen molecules with 1 oxygen molecule? Okay, Juanchi?
We will have something that we call air that we will inhale and we will live with it, right? Something like that. I think so.
Close by, we have oxygen, which creates air, but no, we also have hydrogen. What do you think would have happened, Jose Manuel?
Oh.
H2O, which is?
Water.
Water. If we mix hydrogen with oxygen, we have water. There are elements in absolutely everything. Gold is an element. Your necklaces made out of gold are of an element. Every time we breathe oxygen and throw out carbon dioxide, which are different elements, and those are chemical reactions. And chemical reactions can create absolutely everything. For example, every time we breathe, we make a chemical reaction transforming oxygen into carbon dioxide. Now, a very long time ago, we discovered dinosaurs, right? And the first dinosaur that we found, the oldest one, is 3.5 billion years old, okay? But then suddenly we found another fossil, which is way more older, and it's about bacteria and microorganisms. It's 300 billion years ago, 100 times the amount of the life of a dinosaur, or back then. So what does this tell us? This tells us that before the dinosaurs existed, microorganisms were alive and they were the first living beings on Earth. So how did that happen? Okay, for example, who knows how the dinosaurs died? Raise your hand, only raise your hand. You don't have to speak, just show me if you guys know how the dinosaurs died. We have a lot of hands raised. Okay, most of us know that a meteorite came by and exploded. Many of them got sick. Many of them died because a lot of volcanoes decided to explode. But now I'm going to lower your hands and I want you to tell me how the first dinosaur was created. Okay, raise your hand only if you know how the first dinosaur was created. I'm talking about the very, very, very first, the tiniest one, before anything. Okay, we got 3 people. From like 50 people knowing how they died, only 3 know how they were born. And before evolution happened, we have to go to the very, very beginning. The Earth, after the Big Bang happened, it wasn't this pretty nice place with plants and the beautiful blue sky and the ocean. No, it was a mess. It was the depiction of what we know in the biblical sense as hell. Everything was on fire. The temperatures were very, very high. There was no oxygen in the atmosphere. It was just nitrogen. We would not survive even half a second in that environment. Neither would animals. But since billions of years happened and the Earth went through a lot of changes, the Earth froze, then it became fire again, then it froze again, and then suddenly it was all covered in water. There were thunderstorms everywhere, and everything made small explosions or turned up on fire. So how did we come out of that? Okay? There's a theory that we have proven, but we still can get to know more theories, in which chemical reactions happened underneath the water, and then a lightning bolt from the thunderstorms snapped and created the first microorganisms with chemical reactions. And this was actually proven. We cannot go back 300 billion years ago and try to see what happened, but we can try to recreate this. Miller and Urey were 2 scientists that decided to recreate or make a small model on how the Earth actually functioned back then. They had a lightning stimulation that sapped everything into function. They had heated ocean water. They had something that resembled the primitive atmosphere. And after making all of those experiments, they found that they could create life, and that life came in the form of microbes. After that is what Jose Manuel told us. After that, those microbes began evolving into bigger microbes. They began to look more like bugs. Then they transformed into plants. Suddenly, those plants were breathing oxygen, and they started growing eyes and legs, and they started swimming around in the ocean. They look very, very ugly. I held one of those in my hands long, long ago. In fact, I'm going to show it to you because they are cousins of the first living beings. Okay, they are long cousins. They are called lampreas. You can find them on Google. They are not very pretty and they look like a horror movie. Okay, are you guys ready to see what I'm talking about? They are very ugly, but they exist and they are the very cousins of what we know as fishes today. And share my screen. Okay, welcome to these ugly beings called lampreys, lampreas in Spanish. This is what the first organisms looked like. They did not have arms and legs, they just had a lot of teeth and they swim around in the ocean. Then they evolved into mammals and birds and so on. And that's what we're going to study in classes in the future. Okay? Jose Manuel, do you have a question before the class is over? You didn't see the screen. Let me share it again. Sorry, Jose, but I cannot hear you. Guys, I don't know if you're able to see the screen. If not, I promise that next class I'm going to show you a nice picture of the horrible lampreys, okay? If not, you can find them on Google. They are horrible, but they are very interesting subjects to study, okay? Sadly, we do not have any more time together. We can review it in our next class on next Friday. We have classes on Wednesday,
Teacher,
Thursday, and Friday. Yes?
Andres Mueller has a question.
Yes, but we
Andres
don't
Mueller
have
has
time,
a
so
question.
we can connect again, okay? After the class is over, you can connect if you have questions, okay? Once the
Good.
time is over, we disconnect. Any who has questions may connect again. You don't have to connect if you do not have questions, okay? Hope you have a nice weekend, guys. Go rest and have breakfast if you have not eaten yet. See you.
Bye.
See you guys. Bye-bye. Have a nice weekend.
Bye, teacher.
Bye. Those who have questions may connect again, okay?
Good.
Bye. There's no homework, guys. Barbara, I saw your comment. There's no homework. You can rest for this weekend, okay? See you guys on Monday.